folks. Today is Monday, September 15th. It is 11:01, and this is your Monday morning wildfire briefing. My name is Blake Ellis. I serve as the Fire Operations Manager here in Salem for the Protection Division. Real quick, we're going to start with a brief roll call of members that will be speaking, starting with Northwest Oregon area. Robbie.
Morning, everybody. Robbie Lefebvre, Assistant Area Director for Northwest Oregon area.
Thank you, Robbie. We'll go to Southern Oregon area. Dave, do we got you?
Good morning, Blake. I'll be speaking for SOA today.
TJ, good to hear from you. And then Eastern Oregon area, Gina Miner.
Good morning, Blake. Gina Miner, Assistant Area Director for Eastern Oregon.
Thank you, Gina. Safety, Eric.
Morning, Blake. Eric Panetta, Safety Consultant, ODF.
All right, thank you, Eric. And then Division Chief Michael Curran, were you able to jump on?
Yep, I'm here.
Copy that. And Aviation, Sarah Prout.
Present.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and get started here with a fire weather update, weather forecast, fire potential, and indices from TZA.
Good morning, everyone. Today's September 15th, as Blake mentioned, Monday. So switching things up a little bit here, we're going to take a glimpse of this week's big picture, just going through some national forecast charts to see where the big pressure systems are and where they're moving. And we've got an east winds check. I'm going to go right to that. And then after we take a look at the potential for the east winds, we'll look at the speeds of the winds and the gusts, and then the relative humidities. Usually when we have a kind of a heads up on the east winds, we're looking at the potential for east winds with low humidity. So we'll go into those. And then right into the ODF significant fire potential map, just really quickly this time, and take a look at some ERCs and just a general statement about our fuel moistures. Mostly due to last week's thunderstorms and precipitation that we had. And then we'll look forward, quick glance at the temperatures, the precipits this week, the NOAA 6 to 10 day forecast, and I wanted to recap that season ending event probabilities study just to see kind of where we're at, and then recap the September NIFC, or the National Interagency Fire Center Wildland Fire Potential Map, and the NOAA 3 to 4 week forecast, just to kind of get us into October a little ways here and get through September. And then we'll finalize it all with the Northwest Coordination Center's significant fire potential. So these are the National Weather Service forecast charts. They just show those big pressure systems, the high and low pressure systems moving around. And I just wanted to draw your attention. Obviously, you probably heard on the news, we've got a little bit of a ridging going on with some warmer temperatures this week, but we have a low pressure thermal trough forming on the Southwest Oregon coast. And that could bring some east winds through the Cascades and Western Oregon. And so as the thunderstorms are moving out of the region, we've got this thermal trough off the coast building up. We do have the ridging today and through the week with bringing our temperatures up, and it's going to be a little bit drier, lower humidities. But what we want to take a good look at are those easterly winds. So here are the tables that Pete Parsons at ODF Smoke Management Meteorology, he keeps these maintained. And these show us the potential for east winds and low humidities in at the same time for areas in the Southern Oregon area and Northern Oregon area. And these are mostly on the west side of the Cascades. So on the left side, we're looking at Southern Oregon, basically, the Southwest Oregon dry easterlies and South Coast Range and the Southern Cascades. And usually the warmer the color, the higher the potential or probability of having east wind events. And it looks like really for Southern Oregon, it's not as pronounced as Northern Cascades and Western Oregon. So right around Ashland, that Buckhorn Springs station, and Seldom Creek, which is at Lake of the Woods on Highway 140 going toward Klamath. So they've got a couple of little yellow spots in there. But definitely through the week, you want to just keep your eyes peeled for these dry easterlies coming through. A little bit different story on the northern part of the Cascades and northwest Oregon. We've got the North Coast Range, especially tomorrow, Tuesday, where you're going to see an elevated potential for east winds and dry conditions, low humidity, and in the northern Cascades. So just to keep our eyes peeled for east winds this week. So just diving in a little bit deeper here, I'm like, well, what kind of winds are we talking about? I went through the dailies from the National Weather Service graphical forecast, and really for every day, we're looking at single digit winds, though less than 10 miles an hour most of the days, except for local gusts in the low teens. So maybe not a huge event here. The easterly winds are going to gradually start along the northern Cascades, or actually coming out of Mount Rainier and south, according to the Northwest Coordination Center. And then by Wednesday, they'll reverse back to northwest and westerly flows. So it's a short-lived event, and not as drastic according to the forecasts. And taking a look deeper into, well, what kind of humidities are we talking about? Drying. And we're back down to 30s and 40s west side, teens and 20s down in Southwest Oregon and Klamath, and then up toward Bend and Burns. So the usual suspects down there in Southeast Oregon is going to be drier than everybody else. And Northwest Coordination Center reminds us about the overnight recoveries. They're going to be moderately low on ridges. And so, not incredibly drastic on the humidities either, but it will be warmer, drier, and there's potential for east winds. So ODF significant fire potential map showing the potential for large, costly fires really went down because of the storms we had last week. And we are in moderate still in Southwest Oregon, but definitely kind of ramping down a little bit here, mostly due to that precipitation and cooler temperatures we had last week. So in light of the kind of potential east winds here, I'm just kind of going right down the Cascades and looking at Northwest Oregon for the coastal area a little bit. We can see from last week where I've got that big gray oval drawn on screen here for each of these charts. We had a substantial decrease in the ERC because of the systems we had come through last week. We are forecasted to rise back up to at least average and hover right about around above average and average. But I also want to draw your attention to the right side of each of these graphics. It go all the way through October 31st. And according to last year's blue line, you can see like in North Cascades, there was still a little bit of a blip up in potential for large fires as we head into October at least. And so just showing that, we've got these pulses of heat and cool and moisture and no moisture. And it's just been kind of inching us along here. I forgot to mention that the fuel moistures, I did take a look at all the other fuel moistures, and because of the system we had last week, most of our fire danger rating areas are showing large fuel moistures that are at least average and maybe even a little bit above average. So we got a good amount of precip last week, just showing the precipitation map on the bottom of this slide and the number of lightning strikes we had. Just a quick estimate, about 7,000, about 8,000 strikes the past week. And some pretty good moisture all around, but short-lived, that's for sure. Just going through the week, we've got the little bit of the warm-up coming in. We've got a little ridging. It's already starting to build. 80s east side, 90s in Southwest Oregon area. We won't see too many more of these pulses as we keep heading into fall, but we've got one this week. In the east side, I've been noticing a little bit of cooler spots in the upper elevations. So we've got to keep our eyes peeled. Might be a little bit of frost. Just a obligatory probability of precip here, just going through the week. The thunderstorms on the left graphic are moving toward the northeast and out And then we've got the ridging for the next couple of days. And then just drawing your attention toward the end of next weekend, there's another low pressure system coming in off the Gulf of Alaska coming toward us. We don't know where that's going to head right now. Looking forward here, this pulse of heat through us here, the NOAA 6 to 10 day, that above normal temperature is going to hang around a little bit longer. The precip, a little bit more questionable there, depending on what those Alaskan lows and these other cutoff lows do when they come near our coast. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely above normal temperatures this week to get us through. And just a quick reminder here that the Pacific Northwest Region 6 fire analysts put together a nice summary of all of the predictive service areas showing when's the potential for season-ending events to start happening, and we can kind of ramp things down. And we're still at the 25 percentile level here, 50th percentile maybe. So we're still in middle of September. And so we'll start to see things maybe ramp down a little bit here, but it's slow going right at the moment. We still have significant wildland fire potential in Northwest Oregon. And 3 to 4 weeks out, elevated temperatures continue. So these change all the time, right? I mean, it's forecasting, right? So just keep our eyes open on that. Temperatures definitely, I don't know about the precip. This is looking a lot better. Most areas are in low potential for large fires in the Pacific Northwest region. A couple of areas of moderate potential during the midweek here with the conditions that we're expecting. Really that kind of the middle part of Oregon and up into Washington for some of these areas. So Tuesday through Friday, really the Central Oregon needs to keep their eyes peeled a little bit more than maybe the rest of us. So in summary, we've got the warming and drying again this week. We've got this brief period of easterly winds in Western Oregon, starting really today into Wednesday, about mid-morning. I was kind of glancing through the days there. And the fire indices have reduced quite a bit, thank goodness, from last week. Fuel moisture is above average. And Northwest Coordination Center just reminds us that that overnight humidity along the central and southern Cascade ridges is going to be relatively poor. And the 3 to 4 week forecast still calling for above normal temperatures through September and into October. So I'm just saying we're just kind of inching toward fall and a season end. All right, end of report, Blake. Thank you.
Yeah, and quick follow-up for you, TZA. I've had some folks pinging me. This offshore flow that you're projecting, this isn't anything near what we experienced in 2020, correct? This is a standard, typical seasonal offshore flow event, correct?
That's right. That's why I looked at the actual winds per day. And the winds are really single digit, except for gusts in the low teens. So not definitely not a big event or a prolonged event.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarity. Appreciate it, TZA. As always, stellar job with preparation and informing the group. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to current fire situation, national preparedness level of 3. Northwest region is showing a preparedness level of 4, and ODF is matching that at an ODF fire activity level of 4. The fire managers across the areas and protection division will be addressing our internal ODF fire activity level this Wednesday at our severity meeting. My guess is that that number will drop. Currently showing 7 uncontained large fires in Oregon and 14 in Washington, with 9 CIMTs currently deployed within the region. Currently showing, and this number may be off, folks. This is one that I didn't have time to verify, but currently showing 4 CIMTs deployed in Oregon, with ODF IMT 1 deployed in Kelsey Peak. Team 2 is back in rotation, and Team 3 is currently available. Fire statistics year to date, currently showing 1,026 fires on ODF protected land for 23,022 acres, and statewide showing 3,466 fires for 323,727 acres. We do have the standard list of fires that we're monitoring. Don't want to take away any information that our areas will be providing. So with that, I'll be turning it over to the areas to give their standard area report outs. And as always, we're going to start with Northwest Oregon area. Robbie.
Thanks, Blake. Morning, everybody. My name is Robbie Lefebvre, and I'm the Assistant Area Director for Northwest. So we have no new accidents or injuries to report. For industrial fire precaution levels, we are an IFPL of 1 across the area. For public use restrictions across the area, we are low in West Oregon 1 and 2 and moderate across the rest of the area. Initial attack was light across the area over the last week, thanks to the rain. However, over the last week, we had 75 employees assigned out of the area, and they are starting to return as Team 2 return home and other resources have returned home, but that does cause significant impacts to other programs. And I do want to thank those who stayed back for core business to continue. Currently, we have no severity needs for the area. We did have a wetting rain across the area over the weekend, which was nice, but we are still in fire season. And so we do ask everyone to stay cautious. And if you see something, say something. And for topics of interest, as always, for me, it's be kind to each other. If you see someone having a bad day, the best thing you can do is ask how they are. That'll be enough to let them know that someone cares. And, it is fire season, and the only way we get through it is together. And with that, end of report.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie. Great words, as always. Let's see here. We're going to move to Southern Oregon area. TJ.
Good morning, everybody. Like Robbie, Southern Oregon area also received a decent amount of rain, which calmed the IA down. So IA has been pretty light in Southern Oregon area the last week. As far as fire regulations, IFPL level 1 on the coastal stretch, IFPL level 2 in the valleys, Southern Willamette and the Rogue Valley, and then moderate public use restriction throughout most of the area with high in Southwest ODF district. The big thing for us in SOA right now has been the large fire activity and helping in those avenues. Biggest one for us right now, IMT 1 assigned to Kelsey Peak. So I'm kind of pulling double duty on that one. And then still watching, IMT 1 is also helping a little bit with the Moon Complex, which is the backbone fire and the Pinnacle fire. Just trying to make sure that we can help folks be successful on that one. Still got our eyes on the Immigrant fire and the Foley fire in the Cascade, high Cascade range. Those ones are going to be on the landscape for a while. Foley, I believe, was up to 400 acres, kind of a new one. And then throw a little bit of a shout out to DFPA on the Dad's Creek fire. That was a good catch, kept it a type 3 and not a team incident. That's been about a week now. So things there went really well. Across the area, there's been a lot of lightning over the last couple weeks. However, it has come with some moisture, so that's good. A lot of small fires, single tree, quarter acre stuff, still running on some that keep popping up. So IAs are still out there. There's still some fire to deal with. However, things have really slowed down. For SOA, again, I'd just like to really throw out the IA response from folks this year has been amazing. And then the support that our IA and our ops folks get from the admin staff to let us do our job has been phenomenal this year. So with that, end report for SOA.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. And I appreciate the focus on IA, particularly Dad's Creek. I would expect that to be definitely in the running for IA Catch of the Year within ODF. And for folks that don't know, our incident management teams get a ton of attention and praise for the work that they do. And several years ago, we created an initial attack catch of the year to again focus our spotlight on those challenging catches that local district and association staff work on that don't elevate up to the level of an IMT deployment, but had all the potential in the world to be large, costly fires. So again, thank you for highlighting that Dad's Creek catch. Next, we're going to move to EOA, Gina Miner.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Gina Miner. I'm the Assistant Area Director for Eastern Oregon area. I am glad to report that there are no safety incidents to report this week in EOA. All districts in Eastern Oregon area are in high fire danger. We are sitting at IFPL 3 and MH4 and MH1. Since Friday, EOA has responded to 75 incidents between ourselves and our cooperators. Lightning holdover fires are expected to continue as I cannot talk today, sorry. As we have expected chance of lightning and COD and a drying trend this week after the break in weather that we currently are getting over. I am also glad to report that all large fires that were under team management have been turned back to local districts or type 3 organizations. And we currently do not have any CIMTs in Eastern Oregon area. Thank you to everyone from across the state, our partner states, and other agencies for helping get fires contained and managed in EOA. Severity Aircraft has been instrumental this season in helping us keep fires as small as possible, especially in hard to access areas. And we want to thank all the pilots and managers for their continued hard work this season. RFPAs continue to respond to fires across EOA with initial attack and extended attack and continue to be part of the complete and coordinated system. So shout out to them. And lastly, just thank you to everyone that has come to Eastern Oregon this summer. And thank you for all being safe. Continue to be safe. End of report, unless there's any questions.
All right. Thank you, Gina. Not hearing any questions. Appreciate the report out and all the great work in Eastern Oregon area. Moving to crew resource availability, currently showing 460 Type 2 crews available within ODF's IRA program, with 33 deployed. Locations include Kelsey Peak, Paradise, Reeds Mill, and other smaller fires. Next, we'll move to aviation resources with Sarah.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Prout, and I serve as a state aviation coordinator. To date, our Severity aircraft have flown a collective 1,359 hours, and that's up just about 70 hours since last week. Helicopters have delivered 2,707 buckets of water, 62 firefighters, and 4,185 pounds of equipment. Collectively, all aircraft have delivered over 2 million gallons of water and fire chemicals to incidents across the state, and at this point, we have exceeded our 10-year average flight hours. The following Severity aircraft have ended their exclusive use contract period: Type 2 0 November Hotel in Southern Oregon, Type 2 9 Kilo Bravo Central Oregon, and the Air Attack Platform 2 Delta Zulu out of Northeast Oregon. The agency multi-mission aircraft 9000 Victor is available for daytime visual detection flights out of Salem. To date, all multi-mission aircraft that have flown on behalf of the agency have had about 100 primary fire detections this season. We do have the Oregon National Guard medevac platform out and pre-positioned in Roseburg. They've been out since September 7th. They have had no emergency missions to date, which is a good thing. And we will be extending that resource through September 22nd. And I did confirm that with the National Guard this morning. Pending any questions, Blake, that's all I have.
Thank you, Sarah. Moving to safety, Eric.
Morning, Blake. Eric Panetta, safety consultant, ODF. We did not have any yellow sheets last week, and we did have one kind of injury. Other than that, everything's been good. We had a faulty fuel plug that kind of had some awareness on some kind of breathing issues that happened. So other than that, we were doing good. So make sure that we are keeping up with our hydration and watching our footing. That's all I have, Blake.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. For hot topics by the protection staff, I'd like to take a moment and recognize that some of our folks over in COD are currently going through a very trying, troubling time. They experienced a sudden loss, and I would just ask all of you to keep them in your thoughts, and if it's your style, in your prayers. Very, very troubling and sad time for some of our family members over there in COD. So with that, we're going to turn over to Michael Curran, Chief, to close us out.
Okay. Thanks, Blake. Also, thanks for highlighting the COD thing there for folks to be tracking as well. Definitely a difficult time there for our folks there in Central Oregon District. So I think one of the first things is really just an ask for this group. Definitely much welcome relief in terms of rainfall we received in most parts of the state, which is really nice to see, and helping some of our folks start to get a little bit of rest. But just know that, east winds are the thing to watch out for now that this time of year, now that fall's getting closer. And we've got kind of our first short-term event coming up tomorrow into Wednesday. Sounds like even starting tonight a little bit. So just need to remain cautious and the public to have their due diligence in place. Because even with the moisture, it's not going to take much in terms of east winds and temps starting to pick up a little bit, that fuels are going to dry out again and just be primed and ready again, since we're still in fire season. So really just need to be helping push that prevention messaging the best we can on the tail end of the rain we just did receive. So as I was trying to think through what to talk about today, one of the things that caught my attention, so TZA puts together some really good stats for Kyle and I, usually Sunday afternoons. And one of the things that has really caught my eye these last few weeks is ever since Labor Day weekend, our initial attack staff out at the districts and division staff helping support the best we can, an overall 252 stat fire responses in just about a 2.5 week time frame. Majority of that being lightning. Of the 252, 157 of those were lightning related. And in terms of just our total fire responses for year to date, for calendar year 2025, that is essentially 25% of our responses have been the last 2.5 weeks. So that's a pretty monumental workload in such a short time. So just want to give a shout out to all of our field staff out there, initial attack fire crews, fire managers, the division staff supporting the best you can, because it was a significant workload these past couple weeks. And just want to make sure and highlight that for folks, especially with that happening on the first day of school. So folks were dropping their kids off to school for the first time, probably missing those start of the fall sports activities with games starting, and that definitely takes a toll on folks as well. So just want to highlight all the good work going on, as always, but especially these last 2 weeks. So with that, we're prepped and ready to go with the east wind starting to come our way, and ready to roll. Also just want to give a shout out to Team 2. They did wrap up their assignment on Marks Creek. Unique assignment for us where we took over 100% federal jurisdictional fire. And our folks were having to play just with different processes and procedures in place, and did a stellar job just like they always do. So just want to give a shout out to them, since they did wrap up their assignment late last week. So with that, hope everybody has a good week. And just a heads up, depending on what happens this week, very good possibility we could be canceling this next week unless activity continues to pick up, since Kelsey Peak Fire is starting to wind down as well. So we'll make sure and get messaging out this upcoming weekend on if we'll do this next week or not. But just want to give that warning out to folks that it may get canceled. So with that, I'll hand it back to Blake to close us out.
Yeah, Michael, I think you did a really good job there. Appreciate it. And that'll end it for this week. So thank you all. And let's be safe out there. Thanks.